Yeah, I think it's safe to say Andor is an all-time Star Wars story. After 2 incredible seasons of storytelling, Andor is officially over. The final 3 episodes are now available. I just got done watching them. My emotions are at an all-time high. Let's go ahead and break down everything we saw in a direct lead into Rogue One with full spoilers. Even though we've known it for quite a while, these final 3 episodes were 100% the nail in the coffin that this is one of the single greatest Star Wars stories we have ever seen. I don't care if it's television, animation, live action, movies, whatever it may be, Andor is an all-time Star Wars story. I don't even really know where to begin right now just because so much happened in such a little amount of time. Now, I want to talk about everything, but I can't stop thinking about the fact that episode 10, the Clea and Luthen focused episode, is maybe one of, or if not, the single most important piece of storytelling in the entire Star Wars franchise. We have to remember that Luthen Rael is pretty much the reason the rebellion exists. He is the reason the rebels are even the rebels. He has done things for years that have laid the groundwork for this thing to exist. And not only that, but he has saved the asses of who knows how many people that are on Yavin and part of the rebellion. And while he has been doing that for years, he and Clea both, right? Creating points of contact like Saw Gerrera or Mon Mothma, or infiltrating organizations like the ISB. He has never really gotten the answer until this episode. We finally get to see him and Clea both figure the hell out what the Empire is doing and what they are all about right now. That the energy project that Palpatine is using, or the Kyber crystals, or Gorman, and that it all comes back to this incredibly super secret plan that is Project Stardust, aka the Death Star. Speaking of this incredibly super secret plan that is the Death Star, that moment where Krennic came into the room with Dedra and he was just towering over the top of her, intimidating her, I was also intimidated. Now, of course, unfortunately, all of this, when they figure out this, they enact the plan, they want to get the information off to Yavin, it unfortunately ends with the sacrifice of Luthen. And we have that really well done scene between him and Dedra at the shop, and we see him sacrifice himself because he knows that he can't answer what they want. He can in no way give them any answers to the rebellion, what they know, anyone who is involved, any of that. So he decides, knowing that, and we pretty much have known that for quite a while now, that there was no way Luthen was going to make it out of the situation, but he did everything he possibly could up until that moment to save the rebellion. Honestly, Clea is kind of the MVP for me right now because she not only saved the information, she got the information to the rebellion, but she ends up unaliving her adoptive father after he survived his own sacrifice. That entire hospital sequence was awesome. From Clea infiltrating as a nurse to the bomb to Dedra being arrested, just everything that took place felt so grounded Star Wars, like spy, espionage Star Wars, which is what I watch Andor for. And just quickly, because this girl does not get enough credit, but Clea is incredible. Such a well-written character, does not get enough credit for what she does and how involved she is. And in a lot of ways, she's kind of the OG rebel, like the original rebel that does things that just don't go seen. But from there, Clea still needs help. Like, she is basically on the run with the most important information in the galaxy about the Empire, and she needs someone to know about it. So of course, she's going back to the old apartment we've seen throughout the season, searching for an old hand radio, essentially, with some very special frequencies, and she is able to come into contact, and Cassian is able to go and rescue her on Coruscant with K2SO, with Milshi, and we have a great firefight in the apartment complex that eventually ends up with them escaping and heading back to Yavin. Now, in this point of the arc, I was really starting to lock in because I was so curious on what was going to happen with this information. How was it going to be said, and how were people going to react to it, right? We get Cassian going back to Yavin. He is presenting this information to the Rebel Council. We have Bail Organa, we have Mon Mothma, we have Admiral Raddus, which I loved seeing Admiral Raddus. And he's saying all of this information, right? The Kyber crystals, we have Gorman, the energy project. And most of the people on the council reacted exactly how I hoped they would, because that is how it was in Rogue One. They're questioning it. They're not understanding. They're not believing it because it's coming from Luthen Rael's mouth, because they don't believe in what he is doing and how they are doing it, because he is not doing exactly what they want to do. And even though he is the one responsible for everything that they are doing, when he says something this important, it is still not believable. But I loved that was the reaction from the majority of people on that council, because that is exactly what we saw in Rogue One. We had that scene with Jyn. She is trying to make the point, we have to believe in hope. That's what rebellions are built on. And many people involved on that council that were in this show had the exact same reaction. Now, the show doesn't end with all of them starting to believe this information, because we know in Rogue One, that is when they actually start to believe that information. But all of these other things are happening in this moment, right? We have Mon Mothma, who is sending Vel to talk with Cassian and to see if this information is actually real and believable. And then we have Drevin, who is having this Tivik storyline with Kafrene, which we will get to. So we have all of these small things that are being planted that are eventually touched on either at the end of the episode or in Rogue One. Now, with Vale basically verifying Cassian's information and Drevin dealing with the Tivik storyline, Mon Mothma and Drevin eventually go to Bail Organa and convince him to let Cassian do this, to clear his mission, to go to the Ring of Kafrene. We learn that Cassian going to meet Tivik and eventually unaliving him at the beginning of Rogue One isn't just like a fun introductory scene to this character. It is an essential part to this entire plan. He is specifically going to Kafrene to meet with Tivik to confirm the intel that we just found out in this arc. That is peak storytelling. I really don't know what else to say other than it is absolutely fantastic storytelling to connect the dots in that way. Now, just as expected, as his mission is cleared, Cassian and K2 are headed off to Kafrene to meet with Tivik, but that is not the last moment of the show. The final shot of the show, we are meeting up with Bix. She is back, she is happy, she is healthy, she is safe, and we see that she has actually given birth to her and Cassian's child. Now, sadly, we know what happens to Cassian. He sacrifices his life for the entire galaxy and taking down the Death Star and eventually the Empire. But just to know that his love of his life is out there safe and happy with their child, living their life, and that he is able to pass something on like that is a very, very heartwarming ending. I'm truly going to miss this show. I cannot explain how much I am going to miss this show. Andor has been such a big part of my Star Wars fandom over the last few years. What they have built, what they have done in this prequel style show to build up to Rogue One and fill a lot of gaps that there was over the years during this dark time of the Empire. It has been such an incredible ride. Tony Gilroy, Diego Luna, Adria Arjona, just everybody involved. Stellan Skarsgård, of course, just the entire cast and crew. It's just been such a beautiful ride to see this story fully fleshed out the way they want to tell it. It's just my opinion, but Andor is no doubt an all-time Star Wars story, but I do want to hear from you guys. I want to hear your thoughts on not just this arc, where the characters ended up, maybe some things that you would have loved to have seen, but what do you think about the show overall? Where does it rank in your Star Wars fandom, TV shows, movies, overall? Let me know down in the comments.